This is the Blaze Radio on demand.
Tickets for Glenn Beck's We Will Not Conform event on July 22nd are now on sale. Visit WeWillNotConform.com to find a movie theater near you and join us for a night to make Common Core history. Now, spreading freedom across the nation. This is 3, 2, 1.
The Buck Sexton Show.
We often refer to President Obama's lawlessness. This is a term you've heard over and over again. People say the president has no respect for the Constitution. In fact, the great irony of this president is that he's often reported as having been a constitutional law professor when, as listeners to this program know, he was a non-tenure track adjunct lecturer of constitutional studies at the University of Chicago who had to give back his first book advance because didn't feel like writing a book. And then he wrote 2 autobiographies just out of nowhere. But people talk about the lawlessness of this president, and it has become almost an abstraction because it's said so often. It's become something that we are used to. Well, the latest today, 2 9-0 decisions show us that, first of all, when there is a Supreme Court smackdown, when they decide to annihilate a position, it just seems to always be one held by the left. And more specifically, with the case of Noel Canning versus NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board, it's a position held by the Obama administration that it doesn't seem like any other person would hold. It seems quite clear that the Obama administration was kind of off on its own on this one, and they were really just testing the limits. The commander-in-chief no longer views himself as constrained by the Constitution. His version of things in his head, it seems, is, well, let's just see what I can get away with. And as you know, he's gotten away with a lot. Gotten away with Benghazi so far. No one held accountable in Fast and Furious. No one held accountable in the IRS targeting, which just got worse in the past 24 hours. By the way, it's going to continue to get worse. The VA, sure, Shinseki has to resign, but what happens after that? Nothing. No accountability, and the administration also knows that the press will always come back to them. They may pretend for a day or two, Obama, you're being a little authoritarian, a little bit. And then give it a day or two, and they come back. Oh, President Obama overall is doing a great job. With what, I ask? What is he doing a great job with? Well, this is where you have to start to parse great job. If your view is that there are certain things that the American people can agree on, that we all exist within a general framework, a framework that is, of course, the Constitution and federal statute and the American character. Oh, and does that sound just so cheesy? People would make fun of you now for even suggesting there is such a thing as an American character. Given that we essentially have open borders, I don't really know what the American character is going to be in a couple of years, but technically speaking, I think we could suggest that for a long time there has been something that we could refer to as the American character, and President Obama, in his actions, seems to disregard and really deride all of this. It's all sort of a big joke. The Constitution doesn't really count. Tell me something the president wanted to do and thought he could get away with politically that he did not do, that he refrained from doing because there was a recognition that it was contra the spirit of the founding, violates the Constitution. You can't. It does not exist. And when we talk about how he's not doing a good job, well, then you have to start to look at, I thought Americans all operate within this framework. We're hoping for an economy that is dynamic and innovative and growing, and we've created so much wealth and prosperity for our own people in this country. And by the way, through our actions have also created wealth and prosperity that has been shared throughout the world. I know that's just, read Thomas Piketty, read the Frenchman's book, the wealth is not coming from the top to the bottom. Yeah, guess what? Capitalism has brought more people out of the swamp of poverty than any other system. That's now also, it's all becoming kind of quaint, isn't it? The Constitution is quaint, capitalism is quaint, it's all sort of a joke to this administration. And you have these half-brights and half-educated journalists running around constantly suggesting that the president, he's okay, he's made a few mistakes here and there, but what accomplishment does he have? What accomplishment does he have? Oh, wait, now I can already see. I can feel it in many of your minds. I can see it already getting furiously typed out on Facebook and Twitter and in emails. But, Buck, you don't understand. He's trying to accomplish different things than we are. He actually has a different version of success in his head. He always has from the start. He promised fundamental transformation of America. And he is certainly well on his way to that. Our economy has been transformed, not for the better. Our bureaucracy, our government as an apparatus, as a mechanism, is now self-aware. It is the fourth branch of government. It is unelected and unaccountable. And it seeks to destroy those who point this out, like the IRS. We see now that we have no faith in the commander-in-chief's word. We know that they will lie. They will lie about when they make a prisoner swap, why they did it. They will lie about how secure the border is. They will lie about you being able to keep your health care if you like it. They will lie about anything. How could you justify this? How could any person, how could any rational being think that that sort of behavior is going to be acceptable, or rather is something that is worthy of applause? And I think President Obama still thinks that he's doing the American people a favor, as crazy as that sounds to you and me. But it's because he thinks that we are in need of fundamental transformation, that this country has much to be sorry for, and that the things, the little tweaks made here and there, the transgressions against the Constitution, are merely necessary in order to try to achieve exactly that. Something different than what we have. A country unlike that which he took control of in 2008. It has been 6 years. It has been 6 difficult years. Many of us saw all of this coming, warned about this coming, knew that this was the inevitable consequence of electing the most left-wing senator in the in the Senate at the time of his election, a man who launched his political career in the living room of a known domestic terrorist, Bill Ayers, who went to church for 20 years and didn't know, apparently, that the preacher at said church was prone to some pretty anti-American and racially charged outbursts. Didn't know. I went to church for 20 years and didn't hear a thing. It's like I'm practically deaf. I was sitting there in the pew, just on the BlackBerry. And now we get this today. A 9-0 decision against the administration and a 9-0 decision against the political ideology that completely infuses and animates this administration. No surprise here, the President of the United States does not get to tell the Senate what the Senate rules are. A pretty straightforward proposition. It had to be affirmed by the Supreme Court today, 9-0. Total annihilation of the Obama administration's position on this issue. And you ask, well, why would they even do this? What absolutely pressing issue of national security, the integrity of this country must have been at stake for them to make this appointment? No, false. They just wanted to put a couple of cronies and flunkies in positions at the NLRB so, they could get their little Marxism on. I don't know. Certainly not worth it. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Do you feel safer? Do you feel protected? We had to rush that through. No, you see, it didn't. This is why the administration did this, because they are constantly testing the outer limits of executive authority. They're trying to see if they can wear us down. And I will be honest with you, this president has been wearing us down. He's worn me down. To come here and day after day, my sanity is you, that I can talk to you about these issues, that we can sit here and actually have a moment of honesty and truth about what's happening in this country. If it were not for this, I think I might start to talk to myself in a dark closet without a microphone, because it's so obvious to me what's happening, and it's so disheartening as somebody who really loves this country. You can't even say that now without people giving you a strange look, I feel like. What are you, a jingoist? Oh, I bet you wear an American flag pin or you have like an American flag in your house somewhere. That's the culture that's now being foisted upon all of us. This sort of preening, supercilious anti-Americanism from Americans who have bought into this administration's garbage hook, line, and sinker. And here we are. Their favorite mechanism for statist overreach, the Supreme Court, because, sometimes you can count on Kennedy or even Roberts, high five Obamacare, to abandon their principles because they recognize that the left is full of whiny children. And if they were to say strike down Obamacare, or if they were to become strict constitutionalists, which means people who read and adhere to the Constitution, by the way, there'd probably be riots. The feminists would start lighting things on fire. Protected minority groups would start lighting things on fire. Somebody would freak out somewhere, so the Supreme Court now caves. Okay, Obamacare. We'll make up we'll use the most tortured logic imaginable, illogic, in order to get this thing through. It was the position of the President of the United States that he was in a position to tell the United States Senate, a co-equal branch of government, co-equal specifically because we don't want any one branch to become too powerful. It was the Obama administration's position. They could say, nope, sorry. Yeah, we know that you've set a rule for what you guys are and what you're doing, but we don't care. We've got more important things to do. We're in charge. Really? Well, to see how predictable this was, just remember that some of us saw this coming. In fact, I believe some of us said this to you, what was it, just yesterday. Play clip 6. The recess appointments, I think they could be set up for I shouldn't say this because no one ever handicaps the Supreme Court decisions properly, but I think they're going to get a 9-0 on that one. I don't know how they could conceivably think that the president gets to determine when the Senate is and is not in recess. I think the Senate gets to determine that. That was yours truly yesterday, I believe. So no, and I promise you, I have no mole in the Supreme Court. But it was just so obvious. I mean, if that's the case, what can the president not tell the Senate to do then? If the president can rewrite the rules of the Senate, well, maybe he can decide. We don't really need there to be any filibuster. We don't need there to be majority. We'll just make it up as we go along. It is lawlessness. And this is what lawlessness feels like right now, what you're seeing play out day after day in the media, with the IRS coming out now and saying, yeah, we just lost some stuff, bro. Don't worry about it. No one believes them. Apparently, the media doesn't even care. Why? Because we start to feel and start to see now that something very insidious has happened. Over the course of this administration, people talk about the separation, people talk about the polarization within our politics, but it's worse than that because we're not polarized. We're actually operating in different spectrums now. The Constitution no longer binds us together with many of those who claim to be Americans. They just don't care. They have a progressive agenda. They want to enlarge the state. And no matter what gets in their way, no matter what principle that they claim to hold, they have to violate, they will do it. They will do it. This is the heart of authoritarianism, and you see it now, and you see it in the eyes of this administration and of its supporters. I say enough is enough. 9-0, great. That's just a little drop in the bucket. We've got a lot more work to do. The Broad Voice line is open, 888-900-3393. I'm just getting started, Team Buck. Don't go anywhere.
Buck Sexton will be right back.
The Blaze Radio Network.
Buck Sexton, only on the Blaze Radio Network.
So Speaker Boehner has decided that he's going to do something. I'm not sure how successful it will be, which is what we're going to talk about. Speaker Boehner is going to sue the administration because President Obama is not faithfully executing the laws. He's asking the bipartisan legal advisory group known as BLAG, which I also think, by the way, if you saw the movie Snatch, blag is like a Cockney slang for rob, right? in Snatch? Oh, you blogged the bookie, right? No, nothing. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure that blagged